Ladies and gentlemen, please take a seat. We are starting the next plenary session, which is really a session to frame the theme of the summit, harnessing the power of cooperation. Friends, please take a seat. We are starting the next panel. Take a seat. The panel is moderated by Bozentko, who is the Executive Director of the Center for New Democratic Process, USA. Inge Andersson, the President of Ivanhoe, also based in the US. Cristina Frias, who is the partner of Grupo Folha, based here in São Paulo. And Sekai, Holland, who is the Chairperson of a Board of Trustees, Zimbabwe Peacebuilding Initiative, based in Harare. Please welcome the next panel.
Hello and good morning. Thank you, Frank, for that introduction. Want to start, as is customary, with just our gratitude for the University of Sao Paulo as co-host, the State of Sao Paulo for the hospitality and graciousness, and Frank, of course, for bringing the community of Horasis together in order to kick this conversation off over what is sure to be a very informative, deep and very wide set of activities over the next couple of days. So thank you, Frank, for all of your work and everything you've done to pull this together. It's an incredible amount of work, and we're very grateful for that. And everyone in this room plays a role in that. And I think that's one of the key issues and key things to keep in mind when we talk about harnessing the power of cooperation. Everyone here on this stage and those in the audience and those who will be coming in and out over the next couple of days made the conscious choice to be here together in order to collaborate, in order to cooperate, to learn from one another towards building a better future. And while that may look and feel different to everyone who comes, those unique perspectives are part of what will make this such an amazing event and something that makes it so dynamic. So we look forward to the next couple of days, and we want to kick our conversation off today with a wide range of views and experiences and deep knowledge from our panelists, thinking about how do we take this moment, how do we build from this conversation that begins here and take it forward into the world, back to our day-to-day lives, so that we can harness the power of cooperation in an environment where on some days it seems as though that is becoming more and more complicated, more challenging, and more complex and uncertain than ever. And so in order to kick this off, I'm going to ask Bo if you would please start just by introducing yourself and share a little bit about how you were thinking about and operationalizing the concept of cooperation in your industry and in your profession.
Thank you. So my name is Inge Andersson. Originally I'm Swedish, but since many years also US citizen and American. I spent most of my life in automotive and 21 years inside General Motors in Detroit. 10 years I was a corporate board member and responsible for global purchasing and supply chain that at that time had supporting operations in 100 countries and produced 10 million vehicles. The last 15 years I've had the opportunity to be CEO for 4 different companies. 3 of them in Russian Federation and Uzbekistan, and 1 in Japan. It's a very difficult topic. What I would like to provide you to think about today is, having been managing large organizations, and with that I mean people more than 100,000 employees, I have used 4 principles. First, you need to give people hope. That there must be some end goal, what will be achieved with your transformation. Secondly, there must be some type of direction, priorities, or objectives. Third, maybe most difficult, is allocate resources, people and money. And fourth, where people that know me very well is saying Bo's main strength is follow up. And why I'm very, very keen on follow-up is I think that if you give direction without follow-up, it is disrespectful. And when you follow up, you will also find roadblocks that you need to take away. So thought for thought. Thank you.
Thanks, Bo. I want to stay on a similar theme, but maybe move it out a bit broader in the lens and ask Maria Cristina if you would speak a little bit about the context of cooperation within broader economic conditions and economic markets.
Thanks, Kale. Thanks, Frank. Good morning. Thanks for having me here. You mentioned chaos, a complicated environment we are living in. And one of the main issues is the decline of the cooperation among countries. This is not limited to trade, commercial sphere, but certainly extends to many other factors. In a time when we need to confront pressing challenges like such wars, climate change, AI, and eventually the risk of a new pandemic, these issues demand significant global cooperation, and we are not seeing it as maybe as much as needed. Returning to the economic sphere, the world is becoming increasingly protectionist. The rise in tariffs in the US increases the cost of imports and reduces global trade. This tends to make economies less efficient, which can lead to lower global growth and a reduction of capital flows to emerging markets. Focusing on Brazil and the US, which have a long history of cooperation that was interrupted by this Trump presidency, what are the impacts of the economic activity due to the 50% tariffs imposed on Brazilian products? So far, the results suggest a limited impact of around 0.5 pp of the GDP. Additionally, the Brazilian government's contingency plan to support companies might result in an even smaller effect on activity. Thus, the biggest problem lies not on macroeconomic, but in microeconomic. There are companies suffering a lot, almost shutting doors, due to a high dependency on exporting to the US. And in America, so far, the effects have been small. Why? The US is importing less, the tariffs were smaller than expected, and there is a significant use of inventories. However, there is uncertainty regarding tariff policy, and as highlighted in a recent presentation at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, this uncertainty can lead to growth stagnation and inflationary pressure. To conclude, Yuval Harari, the author of *Sapiens*, states that people cooperate because it is the best for their lives. Let's hope this logic continues to prevail the next years. Thanks.
Thanks, Maria Cristina. So, transitioning somewhat, we've both spoken about micro and macroeconomic issues and conditions. But Sekai, I wonder if you would be able to share a little bit about your work and how you see the value and role of cooperation, particularly as related to your peace-building activities and your reconciliation activities that you've led.
Hello?
I think it should be all right.
Hello? Okay. Again, I must say, I prepared a very brilliant speech with Professor Mandirukuni in Harare for this session, according to how I thought it fitted in with what Frank and what he's trying to do would be enhanced. But I really would like to say that our experience yesterday, when we finally arrived in Brazil, has made me throw the speech away and really go back to where we should actually begin. If the press is here, I'm from the press. And I really would like us to practice constructive journalism and not sensationalize anything. Because the three of us from Zimbabwe were hit in the face with what we thought the world had completely resolved. And we found that in Brazil, it's still very fresh. Frank, I don't know where you're sitting, but we're very lucky to have somebody like Frank with this platform he has created for us to actually discuss very painful things, knowing we are among friends. So I don't really want any of what I'm going to say to be sensationalized. We were not able to actually join all of you because in the area where we are staying, my church in Australia paid for all three of us to actually be here, in part, in the university of where one of us is. So they checked us in a Uni-Corp hotel, thinking it's at the University of São Paulo. But it's in the correct area because we saw a part of the world which we thought was no longer in existence. When we tried to get a taxi to come to the meeting, each taxi driver refused to bring us to São Paulo University because we were black. And what was nice for me was that they didn't hide that. And I really appreciated that honesty. It didn't annoy me. But then we tried to negotiate with the hotel to get our money back, which had come from Australia, by your cards. And they refused because we didn't feel safe. But then we remembered an African saying, which is, in any place where you go, they are human beings, and you must connect with them for your own survival. So I'm going to read a totally different speech to yourself, which, again, we try to put together to really get something out of the University of São Paulo, because when you've got Brazil has the best ambassador in Harare, and I think he'll be really shocked by our experience in São Paulo. So we are aware that there is a disconnect which universities have an obligation to actually make the connection so that people don't go through those experiences. I'm 82 years old, soon to be 83. So those incidents don't melt ice in my mouth because I've grown in a very racist world. But my two colleagues, I'm very pleased they went through that because they'd never expected to give anything like that happen to them. So I'm going to begin by saying, to answer you, the way the world to us is created in Africa. Black is the color of evil, it's the color of bad things, black cats. So we have always realized the underdog status we have. Why are these ones leaving? Is this a boycott?
No, I don't believe so. I think they may be preparing for another conversation.
Please, I would like everybody to hear this. The way that the world is organized from our position as Africans is that really social capital should start with human beings. And we organize according to the economic system we put in place. And the Africans, the Aboriginal people, the first Australians, the people of the fourth world, have specifically kept those ways of organizing very connected to where they were, in a way that nothing can actually destroy the belief that we can actually always ever come together again as people. So we believe that the talk about economics is very important, but what seems to have been lost is the understanding that the social capital and the economic capital are anchored on the environmental capital. And that the problem is that when the Industrial Revolution came, a disconnect took place in the North, where the spiritual capital, which humans are totally connected with, and the universe was lost. And that, Frank, I hope you understand that your role in today's world is that you seem to have a vision of how the connections can be made. And my appeal in coming to Horasis is that that message would get through to the correct people who would actually make programs of connecting the disconnections which come to us from the Industrial Revolution. So Frank talks about new pathways for cooperation and collaboration in hubs of knowledge and innovation. The Zimbabwe government has got a new education policy called Heritage-Based Education Policy 5.0 to connect us to what we should have done when the colonial process came. The theory is that we live in a dual economy in Africa and in Brazil. We have seen the evidence of that since we arrived. And that this dual economy has forced us to come to the cities and actually live where we should be in the rural areas, where production, reproduction, and the healthy things come from. So this new policy has a policy that it drives, which is 8.0 rural industrialization, meaning that the policy of our government is to have people move back to the rural areas, to transform ourselves economically in the new order, which is existing in a new environment, which we all share, of economic deprivation. Because in Africa, there's a lot of asset stripping. Because we don't have industrialization there, the industrialization takes place in the north, and the goods are sold to us at higher prices we can't afford. So our economy keeps going where we can't afford it. So I'm just saying that I came here to just say to everybody, we are very conscious of that. The spiritual connection is not there. And it is there at every level, because you see people getting married across cultures. You see people putting together programs which make people really do their best. So I was going to conclude by saying I'm a product of the special Commonwealth Africa Assistance Program put in place by Australia for Africa after they put together what was called the Colombo Plan for Asia. And I'm a beneficiary of the SCAP program because I lived in Australia for 17 years during an extremely difficult time when all the struggles against racism, sexism, and class were fought. And fortunately for us, what came out, I'm 82 years old now, was seeing that the world needs to understand our own history of human development for us to build better going forward. And that really, I was also glad I met an Australian here who understands what the road that we came from was. And that this sounds extremely confused, but really what we need to get together here is our mental health wellness, which comes out of us being very truthful to one another about our experiences and listening to all the voices of those we come to meet. Our mental health wellness depends very much on that. Our physical health wellness comes at all times from the way we eat, the way we feed ourselves. And the third one, the spiritual wellness, actually comes together in us when we are aware that we need both the spiritual, mental, and a physical health wellness. I want to conclude by saying that how do we get the act together in Zimbabwe, where we should start? Unless our society puts justice and fairness to all, by all, we are not going to get it right. Because by getting justice and fairness to all by all, we get peace. Because without justice and fairness, peace never comes, never. Where there is no peace, there is no development. And I keep thinking about Gaza, about Israel, about the Middle East, about Zimbabwe, because we have become very divided over those issues. Yet when a bomb is thrown down, for me as a great-great-grandmother, I think about the children of Gaza, the children of Israel, the children of everywhere where people are standing against each other, that we are one. And we need to find that oneness in ourselves and in one another. Because without peace, you can't have development. Without development, all the principles of love, of justice, of fairness, of balance, of all those things, we will never achieve. Basically, what I'm saying here is, I'm going to say something again because I'm from Zimbabwe. I looked around for black faces, and I know you have different shades of black, but I only could see 3, and that really worried me. And I thought, now where are we? Latin America should actually be better blended. And I'm saying to the University of Sao Paulo, we are here with Frank to do a program in racism in the area where our hotel is, because I think we need to address that in the long term, and I'd like to sit down and do a proposal with them, because we cannot go back to Harare knowing there are people who think like that, and they think it's okay, and we go home and we have our lunch as well, and say in Sao Paulo, people refuse to give us a ride because we were black. It's not okay.
Sekai, thank you for sharing. You can go ahead and keep the mic. And I sit in admiration of your strength and resilience. I sit and I imagine I'm joined by many in the audience in admiration of your strength and resilience in the face of that treatment. And I appreciate you bringing that to the conversation today. That is an incredibly important perspective for people to be aware of and bring and think about when the context of the next couple of days, as you so rightly identified, is thinking about the power of cooperation, even in an environment where, unbeknownst to ourselves, there may be barriers in place, and others' experience may be bringing that to the conversation in ways that are under the surface or difficult and at times challenging to uncover. And I just want to say I appreciate you bringing that forward, and I think this is the right venue for those conversations to happen in the context of cooperation, collaboration, and building a better future together, which is the goal of the Horasis community and Frank's vision for this work. And I want to build on something that you brought forward and brought through your conversation about the role of business, about the role of private enterprise or development and other things. And I actually want to tie it to something that Bo brought up. While it's somewhat different, Bo, I'd ask you to maybe elaborate a little bit if you could, because one of the elements, Sekai, that you pointed out is the importance of humanity and of each individual here being a human being. And Bo, it may be unconventional for those in the audience or anyone to hear someone say that in one of the key goals and important milestones of your work is to allocate resources, but you explicitly talk about humans as part of that, and not necessarily in a crass reductionist concept, but about acknowledging that you are working with people. And Could you talk a little bit about any examples that you have from your experience where you had to foreground people's humanity while trying to achieve obvious economic benefits and profits for companies or places where you worked, and how you've balanced that, whether that was in the community, whether that was where you were working, or whether that was in a company itself?
Yeah, so I will be very practical because that's how I think and that's how I work. Being here in Brazil, in 2021, I became the new General Director of Uzbekistan Motors in Uzbekistan, a country with 38 million people. The decision was made to take the best-selling vehicles from Brazil, the Chevrolet Tracker and Onyx, localize them in Uzbekistan. We had a small problem, it was COVID. We had some other problems, but together as a team, we developed joint objectives. We defined the culture of how to work together, and we built a trust. Geographically, the furthest away you can get from Uzbekistan is Brazil. And if you're from Brazil, the Brazilian automotive industry is very strong, but it's also very protected. Today we talk about tariffs. For many, many years, the import duty for parts and vehicles coming into Brazil has been 25%. Uzbekistan, where the GDP is around $2,000 to $3,000 per person a year. And our challenge was to introduce a vehicle, Chevy Tracker, with 6 airbags, with Wi-Fi, with radio, with park assist, commercially and on time. But working as a team, we were able to launch the Chevy Tracker in Uzbekistan on time, 18th of July, 2022, with the right quality, with the right cost. But I would say it was a very big challenge to work the cultures of Brazil with the culture of Uzbekistan, but by having joint objectives, defining the culture, defining responsibilities, and defining what success looked like, we were able to do it together. So I hope that gives you an example of it is possible. It was not easy. And I can say that COVID, for many of us, was a game changer, but it was also an opportunity to do things differently. Thank you.
Thanks, Bo. Maria Cristina, I want to touch back on one of the points that you brought up. You spoke in kind of larger macroeconomic and global terms. Obviously, the months ahead in Brazil are very packed with events. There's COP coming up. There's these activities. Can you talk about any issues or areas that you see tying to some of the global cooperation aspects that you brought forward, where you might see some potential opportunities for hope that could emerge both from the conversations over the next couple of days here and throughout the remainder of the month, where you can see the possibility of new avenues for cooperation emerging?
Yes. First of all, if you allow me, Kale, please, I would like to say that I feel deeply sorry for your racist and unacceptable and unjustified experience here in São Paulo. And I also feel sorry that we don't have a diverse audience as we should have. So I would like to address to you, you are a specialist in peace building, reintegration, and I would like to hear more about your experience, if you allow me. I would like to give my time to you. I really feel sorry, and I apologize for my side.
That's incredibly gracious, Sekai. If you would potentially follow up just to talk a little bit more about some of the work that you've done in peace building and how you bring that experience to the last 24 hours in shaping, because you looked at and you brought your experience forward upon arrival, not as one that was to be absolved, but one that you see as a starting point for a conversation to take place. Can you talk about how your experience through your peace-building work has prepared you and equipped you to see this as an opportunity in the way that you put it, which was incredibly powerful.
Yeah. Can I say from the start, we should not apologize for what happened to us. That is what the reality which we must deal with in our own societies is like. So I don't think in terms of people must apologize, but we must think programmatically. How do we extend the discussions we are having here to have an impact in our societies? Because obviously, the society here is not as integrated as we have all believed Brazilian society is. Because for me, when we talk about the dual economy, we talk about Africa and Latin America. And in Latin America, we see Brazil. And we were very excited to come here because in our language, we call Brazil Lula's country. And when the previous prime minister was the president was there, it was his country. That's how we see places. And Lula is somebody we think very highly of because of what we think he's doing with the people who are grounded. Now, when you now come and you are in that kind of suburb, what I thought myself, I wasn't upset. I just thought to myself now, how do we connect with these people to show them that we are one? And that we are the same human family. And that, for me, the problem is Western education does not touch its own people. Like I read that life began in Africa. So we are the mother people of everybody. So then when you come here, outside Africa, and the people are coming to Africa to take resources, not to find out about themselves and where they came from. It's a failure in all of us. And we need to accept it's a failure. And we need to thank Frank that he's got this forum where we can get together and talk about it and not feel guilty about it. I hope I'm not offending anybody, because I mean for us to talk about things which we shouldn't be talking about. I've been to 5 funerals in the past 2 weeks. I wish I had taken some of you there, because for us, funerals is the celebration of the person's life, 1. 2, the saying is wafa wanaka, meaning the person who has died, we should only remember the good they left with us. So the dancing that takes place in a funeral, it's not about being happy, it's celebrating the life of one person who did good as much as they could and has left. And we remember the lessons they left for us. I'm just giving that example because funerals in Western countries, I'm married there for 57 years, they're miserable. And the last funeral I was at was on Sunday. The First Lady came, our First Lady, the wife of the President. She cried with the mourners. Then we did a prayer. Christians, you must rejoice, you left something there, but we've turned it in our own way. She did a prayer, and then she said, can we sing so we can dance? And the song that was sang was, Mururu Kumadenga, meaning ululation in the heavens as you welcome one person who did so much good. It was the registrar of the University of Zimbabwe who died very young. So for us, funerals are bringing us together to do good, those of us who are left. It's about seeing how we can do better among ourselves. It's very spiritual life in Africa as a whole, whether you sense it or you don't sense it, because we live in that world where we are totally connected. And of course, the people who are dead are said to be joining the spiritual world. So you don't really need to apologize, because I expect racism everywhere I go. When I walked in here, I looked how many black faces there are, so I can feel secure. and my insecurities blew up, and I thought, no, Frank is here. He's a friend. He's a very good friend. So I'm fine. These whites might be also fine because of the history of racism. And in the 60s, people labored with racism, class, and gender. And of course, they were never resolved. But I'm just saying, for me to be here, I just hope we have some honest conversations about programs that we do in the areas where people don't have these kind of facilities, where the university environment should be available to everybody. And we hear Sao Paulo is a free university. So when we came here, we were excited about what kind of cooperative programs we can have with your university. You talked to me from New York. And New York, for me, is where it all happens. And I was thinking, and you were going to the Midwest, where I did my Fulbright master's. And I was thinking, we can make all these connections. When you meet a problem, think about a solution. And when I come to Frank's things, I come to solution-based conversations. So I really want to apologize if I've offended anybody talking about what happened to us. Because for me, I wasn't angry. I just said, oh my God, we haven't done anything on racism. So what's the solution? I want a program with your university in New York. You've got to come up with, no, I'm being a great-grandmother. I shouldn't be. We should have one with, of course, Frank has to set up the policies for us to work within. It's his platform we are using. So that's what I would answer. We must answer everything we find to make a smooth passage for ourselves as humans. We are one.
Thank you, Sekai. That's. I mean, I think you're really capturing and honing in on the goal of these days together, and obviously crystallizing it through your experience and saying, now, where do we go from here? How do we turn that into something that will actually lead to someone else arriving and not having that experience or not being put in that situation? And so,
excuse me. If there are any British people here, of course, I have my Shingi, my granddaughter that I'm with, who is married to an Englishman. So she can tell that to her English husband. When I was 6, my father was a leading journalist. This is in the 40s. And the Queen of England brought her daughter, Princess Margaret, to mend her heart over her lover, who she wanted to marry. I'll never forget his name as well. I won't say it because I won't. So they came to Zimbabwe in 1947 for Princess Margaret to get over her whatever. Anyway, they walked among us, and we were the ones who were the ones from the middle class. And they were so small. And I said to my mother, when we got home, do they eat? My mother said, yes. I said, well, do they go to the toilet? She said, yes. I thought, well. I said, so why are they so small? Because I thought when you eat, you grow. Anyway, in the end, I wanted to be called Elizabeth because she's a princess. And my parents said, but Sekai is the best name we could think of, and that's what you'll always have. But the oneness of human beings for me came from that experience that all human beings do the same thing, they need the same thing, and that the name you are given by your parents is the best. So that's where it comes from for me, that we are one.
Thanks, Sekai. You were able to identify the shared humanity even at that young of an age. And I do want to shift back, though, because you've kind of put a charge forward. And I think it would actually potentially pick up, Maria Cristina, where you yielded your time. Whether or not it's something that you personally could undertake or your company or corporation, what are some of the action steps or some tangible outcomes that might emerge emerge from convenings such as this and those that are taking place, aiming at a global audience, kind of thinking big about where those possibilities could be from an economic perspective? What are some of those concrete, tangible, actionable items that you would hope to see or might see in the short term?
Well, in your previous question, you said the word hope. And I think talking more generally in Brazil, what gives us hope now is the COP 30, going to happen in such a challenging environment. And we hope that putting together so many leaders, so many specialists in a very hot city, people will feel and act to address the climate change. So I think this is a very important thing. It's, as Mrs. Holland said, we have to put people together and talk together and try to integrate all the point of views.
Thanks, and I'll ask, Bo, you've talked a little bit about your experience, but what would you see as some opportunities that could emerge from conversations over the next couple of days, but also in your sphere, actionable, concrete steps that could exemplify the power and the possibility of cooperation that you could see emerging?
So I will twist it a little bit different, and the next 2 days will be what you make them to. I would say Frank started Horasis roughly 20 years ago as an experiment, ambitious experiment. And today, I would say Frank and the team have turned out Horasis to be the premier platform putting together cooperation among borders. So I challenge each one of you to make the best out of the next 2 days. I've been fortunate enough to be part of Horasis for 20 years.
Thank you, Bo. And we want to invite our newest guest, Frank, if you would provide some background.
I'm delighted, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, to introduce Vice Governor Ramuch, who just arrived to represent São Paulo, and he will tell you more about the success story to be the new Silicon Valley of the world, to be the new industrial hub of the world, to be the new financial center of the world. Please join me to welcome Vice Governor Ramuch.
Bom dia, quero dar as boas-vindas a todos vocês, ao Brasil, ao Estado de São Paulo e à cidade de São Paulo. Uma grande honra para o governo do Estado de São Paulo poder participar aqui e agradecer ao convite do Frank, nosso chairman da Horasis.
Good morning. I would like to welcome everyone to the state of São Paulo. Thank you very much for being here. And I would like to welcome our chairman of Horasis.
Frank, o trabalho que você tem desenvolvido para fomentar o setor produtivo e a troca e a interação entre diversos setores tem sido exemplo, e nós estamos muito felizes de poder, pela primeira vez, sediar o Horasis aqui na cidade e no estado de São Paulo.
Frank, the work that you have been doing to foment the industry sector in the state of São Paulo is amazing, and it's a great honor to host the Horasis in São Paulo.
Cumprimentar o Carlos, nosso reitor da USP, e de pronto também já dizer que o Frank não poderia ter escolhido um local melhor, já que a USP nos orgulha muito, uma grande universidade que representa o Brasil no mundo através da excelência educacional da nossa universidade.
And I also would like to say thanks to Carlos and Frank for having it and choosing USP as the place to be. We're very proud because it represents the excellence of the university in São Paulo.
Cumprimentar também o Samo e principalmente a cada um de vocês que estão investindo o seu tempo vindo aqui para o Brasil para se capacitarem ao longo desses próximos 2 dias.
And I'd like to congratulate you all that will be here on the next couple of days investing in capacity building for these days that are yet to come.
Pessoalmente, para mim, é um grande prazer poder conversar, falar um pouco para o setor produtivo mundial.
It is a great pleasure for me and an honor to talk to the productive sector in a world level.
Eu costumo dizer que vocês são os verdadeiros geradores de emprego, renda e que pagam os seus impostos, né?
I usually say that you are the true motor builders of the economy and that you pay your taxes.
Nós, gestores públicos, se não atrapalharmos os empreendedores e a iniciativa privada, já está bom demais.
If we, as the public sector, do not get in your way, it's good enough.
Aqui no estado de São Paulo, a gente procura colaborar um pouco.
In the state of São Paulo, we usually like to collaborate.
E a gente já pode colher frutos da administração do nosso governador Tarcísio, que eu trago também a cada um de vocês um abraço do nosso governador, que tem acompanhado desde o início a vinda do Horasis para São Paulo.
And I can say that in this management, we can already pick some of the fruits that have flourished, and I would like to send warm hugs from our governor that could not come today.
Sei que o nosso secretário de Desenvolvimento, Jorge Lima, já esteve com vocês e contou um pouco sobre os resultados de investimentos privados e públicos aqui do estado de São Paulo. Não vou me repetir nesse sentido.
I know that Secretary George Lima was with you before and has shared a lot of the results with you, so I would not be speaking again about that.
Como boa parte de vocês, também sou empreendedor, venho da iniciativa privada, né? Tenho investimentos no setor de energia, no setor também de inovação, e, portanto, eu hoje, como governador, consigo entender bastante as dificuldades do setor produtivo.
And I myself come from the entrepreneur sector as well. And I know a lot as Vice Governor. I can understand all the challenges that you might face.
Para nós, é importante para aqui, agora para o Brasil, nós temos um momento muito importante, que é a reforma tributária, simplificando os tributos no nosso país.
We are at a very important moment in Brazil right now, which is the tax reform, to simplify a lot of the costs.
Isso pode ser uma grande oportunidade a vocês, né, de investimento no Brasil, porque, de fato, até ainda os próximos 3 anos, nós manteremos um universo fiscal bastante complexo, mas isso muda com o início da reforma tributária.
This might be a great moment to invest, because for the next 3 years, we are still holding a very complex tax system, but this is coming to change with the tax reform.
O governo do estado de São Paulo está à disposição com o Investe São Paulo, o nosso Desenvolve São Paulo, um banco e uma agência de fomento para ajudar os empreendedores que desejem implementar negócios aqui no nosso estado.
The government of São Paulo is ready to help with the Invest São Paulo, a bank, and the Fomenta São Paulo to help anyone who wants to invest in São Paulo.
Quero, assim como o Frank citou, eu acabei de voltar do Vale do Silício, onde eu pude visitar muitas empresas na área de inteligência artificial.
As Frank has said, I just came from Silicon Valley, where I could visit a lot of tech companies.
E eu tenho certeza que isso vai ter a inteligência artificial terá um impacto não só para o setor direto que produz inteligência artificial, mas na vida das pessoas, principalmente num país de dimensões continentais como o Brasil.
And I'm sure that AI will have an impact not only in the sector of the manufacturers itself, but in the life of people, especially in a huge country like Brazil.
Tenho a convicção de que todos os setores serão impactados e nós, do governo, da gestão pública, estamos acompanhando para que a gente possa transformar, através da inteligência artificial, a vida das pessoas em cada canto do estado de São Paulo.
I'm positive that all sectors will be affected, and in the public sector, we are following up closely so we can be part of this change that will affect so many people.
Mas apesar de ser um otimista, eu vejo que aqui também no nosso país nós temos alguns obstáculos a serem vencidos.
I'm optimistic, but I can do see some challenges.
Nós temos agora, nesse momento, sendo discutido no Congresso Nacional, a regulamentação do setor em relação a redes sociais e inteligência artificial.
We are following now in Congress the regulation of social media and artificial intelligence.
E nosso governo do Estado é um governo liberal e nós entendemos que quanto menos a gente regulamentar, melhor será para a expansão dos serviços através da inteligência artificial.
And as liberals in this government, we do believe that the less we regulate, the better it is to expand business.
Eu tive a oportunidade de visitar 5 das 10 empresas que são mais valorizadas do mundo.
I had the opportunity of visiting 5 of the 10 most valued companies in the world.
Estive na OpenAI com Sam Altman, estive na Anthropic, na XAI, na Apple, na Oracle, grandes empresas do setor.
I have seen OpenAI, Anthropic, XAI, Oracle, Apple, all the big ones.
E, de fato, a gente percebe que é uma tecnologia que ainda está no seu início. São muitas perguntas e ainda poucas respostas.
And we can see this technology is still giving its baby steps. We have many, many questions and not a lot of answers.
E assim como a gente já viu acontecer, né, em outros momentos da internet, nos navegadores de internet ou nos provedores, a gente tem convicção de que muitas empresas permanecerão, mas muitas empresas, ao longo do processo, deixarão de existir.
And as we have seen it before, we have seen that with internet browsers, internet providers, we do know that a lot of companies will thrive and a lot of companies will stop existing, but a lot of them will perdure.
E o governo do Estado de São Paulo está determinado a facilitar e melhorar o ambiente de negócios para atrair inovação e tecnologia. Nós não podemos deixar de aproveitar essa janela de oportunidade.
And the government of São Paulo is committed to making the path easier to attract technology. We cannot let this subject be left behind.
Inclusive, no mês que vem, nós teremos o anúncio de um benefício fiscal para a atração de data centers.
We are about to announce that next month we will have a tax benefit for data center attraction.
Já estimado por volta de 15 bilhões de dólares de investimentos.
And it's estimated in $15 billion of investments.
Assim como a Horasis, eu quero também, para não me estender, já que eu interrompi o painel, ser bastante e conclusivo agora, por favor.
And I just want to conclude because I got in the middle of the panel.
Eu quero dizer que nós nascemos dependemos até dos nossos pais para nos alimentar.
When we were born, we depend even on our parents to feed us. We are born dependent.
Quando adultos, nós achamos que somos independentes, o que é um grande erro.
And when we grow up, we think we are independent, but that's a big mistake.
Somos todos interdependentes, dependemos uns dos outros.
We're all interdependent. We depend on one another.
E sei que é esse um valor do Horasis.
And I know those are the values of Horasis.
Então, eu queria também dizer que nas políticas públicas não é diferente.
And what I want to say is that on public policy is no different.
Então, queria aproveitar essa oportunidade dessa manhã com cada um de vocês.
I want to take the opportunity on this morning with each and every one of you.
E reiterar um convite.
And invite you.
Para que juntos vocês nos ajudem a construir cidade, um estado e um país cada vez melhor através do conhecimento, dos investimentos e daquilo que vocês podem nos ensinar.
I want to invite you to help us build a better city, state and country through knowledge, investment and anything you can share.
Que Deus abençoe a todos.
God bless you all.
Um grande evento para vocês ao longo desses 2 dias. Muito obrigado pelo tempo da atenção de vocês.
May you have a great event and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Governor, for those remarks and outlining some of the ways that Sao Paulo is working to make cooperation at an economic level easier. As we conclude our conversation today, I want to invite our panelists to share one concluding remark about what it is we might be able to take with us from this Horasis back to our own relationships, to our network, the world where we are living day to day, to move the spirit of cooperation forward. So with just a minute each, please share one idea that you would hope to take forward from Horasis.
For me, I spent a lot of time in Africa in the 70s when I was young, and you have stimulated me to go back.
Well, I'm to a very direct person. I would say that what I will take from this Horasis, this panel, is that we are one. Thank you for that, Mrs. Holland.
What I hope happens in the next 2 days is that people approach one another and talk to one another without fear, because we are here, because we want to take something away to build ourselves. I don't know where Frank is, I think taking the visitors out. With Frank, I met what to me, my son from India, yesterday. You said you were coming in a few minutes, so we started our conversation without you. So we've agreed that in this meeting, we will shape through you the journey to Victoria Falls and to India. Because for me now, because of Gaziantep, because of Cascais, Horasis must come to Africa. And unfortunately, the person we were working with, the president of Namibia, died. Just when we were traveling there to ask him how we could work together for the Victoria Falls Horasis, that weekend us a lot.
It'd be wonderful.
But now that, okay. And then I met a young, yes I do, Shingi, where is Shingi? Could you run here please, that's my granddaughter. She's a granddaughter all the time. No rest for granddaughters.
Let's welcome Sherry.
Shingi. It means, Shingi means she talks more than I talk. Now, this Frank is, but Frank, it's the century. Great Zimbabwe is a fortress, and right at the top was the eye, which saw the security of the entire city. And they were not people who spoke much. That's Frank. So the color I chose because it's the color of the earth. And I really think, Frank, this is the best Shona sculpture I bring you from Zimbabwe.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It does not matter how poor you are in Zimbabwe. I'm sure it's all over Africa. When you visit, you must take something from your home to share with the other people. And so, because of all this talk about technology, and my government, no, this man there sitting there, we work motorway. We work motors. I have to share something with my panel. And so the young kids from the area where we met this bad racism in Sao Paulo, they make those to make money. So I bought a whole lot to take to different parts as gifts of what technology now means to them. So here, for her, I thought I bought some bracelets, and the color for you, with your scarf, was that. When I came in, Frank, I was looking for black women. I saw one. She's sitting right there, the bachelor. Yeah. For you, they made this, and I thought you'd really love that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and thank you very much for this.
Then the final one, I saw he's run away. So where's that guy? The cameraman. Him? Just give the guy.
Here.
Where is he?
I don't know where he's gone now.
Don't give him if he's not here. Let's give it to the Ghanaian.
Okay. Him guys.
So you just take a gift to connect, and you use a grandchild to tonight. And so it's something that Western people should learn. That No. In terms of what?
You've got the microphone.
I'm saying, with Western people, it's not about money. It's about the vegetables in your garden, which you take to the neighbors when you're going to have something to eat or visiting. You never go empty-handed. You always take something. And COVID, for me, and this has never been commented upon, the least numbers of deaths were in Africa, because we went back to our pharmacy, the forest, and we took herbs. And in my garden, which I hope Frank and yourselves will visit, we did 52 plants of herbs from our vicinity, which we feed from. And so I think what I take away from here, Frank, is that I hope that the incident that happened to us is not sensationalized. It showed us that we must avail the facilities that gives us information, communication, and knowledge to the whole society. So people don't think black is so bad. I don't think we're bad.
Well, thank you, Sekai, and thank you, Bo and Maria Cristina. Frank, thank you very much as well.
And thanks so much, Kyle, for the wonderful moderation, and my very special thanks to you, Sekai. You know, wonderful gifts, and it gives us really hope and the spirit of collaboration. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And thanks, everyone, for joining us for the opening plenary. We hope you enjoy the rest of your time at Horasis. Thank you, Frank.